Class A, we need to talk about the last section of the Unit 2B review sheet before the quiz, and it's all about pronouns, direct object pronouns, indirect object pronouns, what they look like when you put them both in the same sentence. All of this information is in our notes, and we reviewed it in class, so let's just see how you guys are doing with these concepts. The directions are to translate the following sentences and questions, neatly diagram them, underlining the subject and verb phrase, boxing the indirect object pronoun, and if there's clarification or emphasis, which we know starts with the a, and finding and stating the direct object or pronoun. So, ¿para quién le compras esta caldera de calefacción? What is that asking? Well, it's got vocab. The first thing you always want to do is find your subject. Well, my verb tells me who the subject is. Since it's compras, the subject is you, and I want to know for whom do you buy, or are you buying? The present tense can also be used to say what someone is doing. This, and this is vocab, furnace. We might say in English, who do you buy or are you buying this furnace for? But grammatically speaking, you shouldn't end anything with a preposition like for, so the better answer is for whom do you buy or are you buying this furnace? So if I were to diagram that, my subject is you. My verb phrase is do and buy, so compras. Who or what's being verbed, who or what's being bought will help me find the direct object, so it is this furnace. Sorry, these are going to be fairly sloppy. I have to draw these shapes with my mouse, and it's not as easy as pencil and paper. And to or for whom is the indirect object. Now some of you might be saying, Profe, I don't think the grammar of this question is 100% correct the way we've been talking about it in class. And you would be correct. However, it is enough information for us to understand what it is asking. So if you had to say, I buy it for mom, or I'm buying it for mom, it's just not right now, I would want to start with my subject and my verb. Well, my subject is yo, to buy is comprar, I buy will be compro, and if something's being done to or for someone, like in this case, for mom, I'm definitely going to have an IOP. If it's happening for mom, I would want lay. And what's being bought? It. It referring to the furnace, which is esta caldera de calefacción, which means it's feminine. So my DOP would be la. But according to our notes, it says we can't lay la. So whenever you have two pronouns in a row that start with the letter L, our notes say that you have to change the lay to say. And they always go in this order, IOP then DOP. And the reason I put them here in this sentence is because they go before the conjugated verb. So if I were to diagram this sentence, subject verb, I buy, yo compro. What's being bought? It, referring to the furnace. To or for whom? For mom. And if I want to check and make sure I'm right, everything that I'm boxed matches each other, and everything that's circled matches each other. So that is how I would do these sentences. Now, if I did want to say this one, I'm buying it for her, the only thing I would have to do is get rid of this a mamá. And yo se la compro would mean I buy it for her. It could also be him, so if I wanted to add clarification, I could say, and again, this is hard to write with a mouse, a ella, for that last option. Now keep in mind on the quiz, you are not going to have to write a sentence with two object pronouns, but you should be able to read them and understand what they're saying. So I buy it for her. And that's number one. Let's look at number two. All right, the translation of this is the teacher explains the lesson to the students. So the teacher explains is my subject and my verb. Who or what's being explained? The lesson. So that's the direct object. To or for whom is the lesson being explained? To the students. And in Spanish, if something's being done to or for someone, you must have an IOP, so that's why it's there. And if I wanted to say the teacher explains it to them, I would still need the subject, el profesor. I would still need the verb, explica, and then I would have to think about what pronouns I would want. Well, if it's being explained, it's being verbed, I need a direct object pronoun to replace la lección. I would need it to be la. And if it's being explained to the students, to them, my IOP would be lace. However, according to our notes, you can't lace la, so I'm going to get rid of lace, and instead I have to say la. And so my subject and my verb, the teacher explains what it, that's supposed to be a circle, it's a very poor circle, to or for whom, to them. And if I needed extra clarification or emphasis so that it's not to anyone else, I could add ellos. But the teacher explains it to them. And that's our answer for number 2. Number 3. ¿A quiénes les das muchos regalos? The first thing I would do is look for my verb. My verb is das. That tells me that the verb is to give, and it's do you give? And muchos regalos, vocab, many gifts. And a quiénes asks to or for whom. So to whom, this is my IOP, or my indirect object. This is my IOP. Do you give is my subject and verb phrase, or are you giving? Who or what's being given? Many gifts. So that's my direct object. And if I want to say I give gifts to Brenda and Sophia, I would need the yo form of dar, which is doy, gifts, regalos, to Brenda and Sophia, a Brenda y a Sophia. However, if something's being done to or for someone, you must have an IOP. Since it is happening to or for Brenda and Sophia, I give what? Gifts. Let me just label this one out. I give gifts to Brenda and Sophia. If something's happening to them, the IOP I would want in this sentence would be lace. And why am I putting it there? Because pronouns go before conjugated verbs. If I wanted to say, I give them, I don't know why I have two twos here, I give them to Brenda and Sophia, I give is my verb phrase, them, they're being given, to or for whom, to Brenda and Sophia. Well, I'm going to have the same sentence I do right here. So I would have, if something's being done to or for someone, I would need lace again. But this time I'm taking out gifts. If I want to say that gifts are being given, I need a DOP to replace regalos. Well, my DOP is going to be los, but you should be saying to yourself, well, profe, you can't lace los. So instead, I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to have to say los, and that is my sentence. I give them to Brenda and Sophia, and if something's being done to or for someone, I have to have an IOP, and I couldn't have lace because you can't have two that start with the letter L in front of each other, so say los. And if I wanted to change this last sentence to I give them to them, it would be this exact sentence, but I would get rid of this clarification and emphasis. And now it says, I give them to them. Number 4. To translate, you always want to find your verb first. Well, regalo can also come from the verb regalar, so this means I, and regalar, we have in our note cards, is to give as a gift, or it's easier to deal with it if you just say to gift. So I gift, or am gifting, what? A photo of the Beatles, to or for whom? To my friends, and if something's being done to or for someone, you have to have an IOP. So I gift or am gifting a photo of the Beatles to my friends. And again, it's much more difficult to work with this wording, so I'm not going to. So if I want to say, I gift a photo of the Beatles to them, it's going to be the exact same sentence, except I'm going to get rid of the clarification. So I just need to put lace in there to say to them. And if you're like, Profe, but I want to make sure no one thinks it's to you guys, I could add ellos. Now what if in this sentence I also want to get rid of photo? I gift what? It to them. Then this time I have to get rid of regalo right here. I'm going to have to ask myself, or sorry, I want to get rid of photo. I'm going to have to ask myself, what DOP would I choose to replace una photo? Well, it's una, so it's going to have to be la, and I would also have lace, but as you know, you can't lace la, so I'm going to have to say la, and I'm putting them here in this sentence because you can always put your pronouns before the conjugated verb. So I gift it, it's being gifted, it's being verbed, to them. And again, if you wanted to, you could add a ellos at the end of your sentence if you don't have clarification or emphasis or context to already make that clear. And moving on to number 5. Here we go. Eric is our subject. He cuts what? The lawn to or for whom? The neighbors. So Eric cuts the lawn for the neighbors. And what if I want to say he cuts the lawn for them? Well, it's going to be the exact same sentence, except I'm going to get rid of this clarification or emphasis. So if something's being done to or for someone, you must have an IOP. So it's still going to be lace. And if there wasn't already context here for the neighbors, I would have to add a ellos, but it's following this one. So he cuts the lawn for them. Again, sorry for the sloppiness. It's hard to do with a mouse. So what if I do want to say he cuts it for them? Well, I still need my, says always, first thing you should do is state the subject and the verb. I still need Eric corta. And now I'm taking out el césped, and I need to ask myself, what pronoun would I want to replace el césped with? Well, if you said lo, that would be correct because, can I highlight it? Here we go. It's singular and masculine. I'm going to put it before the conjugated verb, but I'm still saying it's happening to or for them, so I still need an IOP, but as you know, I can't lace lo. I'm going to have to move that out of the way, and I'm going to instead say lo as all separate words. So he cuts it, referring to el césped, for them. And if I wanted to really badly add the clarification a ellos, I could. And so this is just 5 practice sentences using your direct object pronouns, your indirect object pronouns, and practicing writing and seeing sentences with double object pronouns. And so if some of this made sense to you, awesome. If not, please listen again. Go back through your notes. Come see me if you have questions. Make sure you're ready for the quiz tomorrow, where you need to remember if something's being done to or for someone, you must have an IOP. And you don't have to write sentences with 2 object pronouns, but you should be able to read them as he cuts it for, and as we know, that could refer to lay or lace, him, her, it, or them if there's not context or clarification. And both of your review sheets are the best way to prepare for your quiz and study your vocab note cards, please. Good job.